What's up guys, it's Brandon Childs, and today I'm going over an exercise called the single leg sit to stand. Now this is a really good exercise to help train your unilateral leg strength to help correct any kind of imbalances that you may have from one side being stronger than the other. This is very important because it's very rare that we do anything in life that we use both sides equally. We always tend to use a more dominant leg even when we're doing something as simple as sitting and standing, but it's especially important for sports where you're constantly in dynamic movements and running around. One side is always going to have to do more than the other, so you want to make sure that you're training both sides individually to make sure you're evening out any of those imbalances. It's also going to help you make sure that when you do any kind of hip hinging activities, this is training you how to use your hips with your core to make sure that you're not overworking your knees. So for the single leg sit to stand, you can use pretty much whatever you want to sit on. I'm going to be using these steps because it allows me to increase the height or lower it to kind of play around with the resistance. Obviously, the lower you are, the harder it's going to be. Generally, you want to start around where your butt is slightly above your knees, and when your butt is equal to your knees, that's a pretty challenging spot right there. Anything below that is going to be really advanced. So you can start off with your butt slightly above your knees, and then when it comes to lining up your foot, you don't want your foot too far in front of your body, and you also don't want it too far underneath you. You want it in a good position to where when you go to stand up, your knee is already between your heel and your toe. So when you push up, you don't have to worry about throwing your momentum all out of whack. You're really focusing on using the right muscles to engage. So once you're nice and lined up, you also want to make sure that when you are sitting on whatever you're on, only have your butt on the edge. You don't want to be sitting so far back that your entire hamstring is on there, and as you push up, you can really use your quad to kind of just push back into it and use momentum to ride it up. You don't want to do that. It's pretty much cheating. You're not using any real glute activation. So make sure you're nice and on the edge, and once your foot is lined up, make sure this knee stays rotated out and the weight stays on the inside of your foot, and this hip stays in as you go up. So once you're there and you go to stand, you slightly lean forward, push up, extend through the hip. This hip stays rotated in like that. You're going to really feel like you want to twist that way. Really make sure that you stay engaged that way with the inside of your foot and the knee pointing out. So that way as you sit back down, as you can see, I'm not sitting like I normally would sit. I'm not throwing my weight back behind me. I'm keeping the weight loaded onto my foot, down, slightly resting on there, and then coming right back up. You're going to want to roll to the outside of your foot, really stay engaged on the inside, this hip in, all the way down and up. The other thing too is that when you're doing these, you're really going to want to round your shoulders in the front. Make sure that you keep your upper back engaged and your pelvis rotated up in the front. This is going to put your spine in a nice neutral position to where you can get the most core engagement to help stabilize all the way through without putting your lower back or anything else at risk. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and if you have any questions or requests, make sure you leave them in the comments so that I can continue to make content that will bring out your ultra instinct.